So with gesture drawing, I have my vine or willow charcoal, and my goal is to fit the whole figure on the page in a very short amount of time. So I'm trying to capture the gesture without a lot of detail. I'm holding my charcoal with the first finger and the thumb, not how I would hold it for writing, but I'm holding it so I have a lot of movement with my wrist. And I'm going to try to quickly map out from head to toe where things are, and I want to allow myself to adjust. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I want to kind of lay it down, do another layer, kind of adjust where things are. So if I know I want the whole figure, I could kind of start with the head. I could think about where the spine is. So we see the actual back here, and we can kind of map that out. Think about where the hips are, the legs, the knees, and the feet. Okay? So just right there, very lightly and loosely, I kind of have the figure mapped out. I'm going to think about the angle of the shoulders and the upper body. So general shape here. Try to draw it a little darker so you can see it. I want to think about what kind of space I see in between the legs and in between the arms and the body. I want to make sure, so I drew the figure narrower. I need to widen the figure here a little bit. I can draw circles or ovals, kind of messy ovals where joints are. You want to trust yourself. Your hand is pausing when you're looking at the figure. You're trying not to lift your media off the page because you don't want to lose track, especially if you have a short amount of time. So my eye is moving over to the figure and my hand is kind of following. I can adjust and refine later. I'm noting where the elbow is in relationship to the hip here. I'm looking at where the hand is in relationship to another part of the body here, the thigh. What's this negative shape here? And also what's kind of happening with the contour. Without having to draw a lot of detail, I want to give enough space for the hand. And I also want to loosely draw in the shape here, just to indicate that he's holding something. Right here, it's violin. I don't have to draw a lot of that in. Indicate that the foot comes forward. I don't want to forget about the head. His head is facing down, so I'm going to kind of draw his skull in. I want to think about the back of his neck. Indicate where the ear is. Maybe even the hairline. I notice that this foot, the heel, is a little lower down here. I'm looking at this negative space. I don't want to get too wide here with the stance. So if you find yourself, like if you made his legs really wide, you can pull them back in. So I need to look here. There's actually a shape here. So this comes in. This comes in a little bit more. Draw a triangle there for his foot, so I can think about the heel, triangular shape here, and then another little section for the toes that I'll fill in later. Think about this elbow and this elbow. the line there. Does one come down more? This hand and the other hand, is there an angle down in terms of where this one is, because this one's coming back more? You don't have to have this all worked out in all the details. You're just kind of giving yourself a map right now. Okay, so that would be my map, my gestural map. And then you step back, you can assess, and then you can kind of refine, bring this in if it needs to come in, bring this in if it needs to come in, check your angles. You want to think about what the angle of the shoulders is, what the angle of the spine is, what the angle of the hips is, where the knees line up, where the ankles line up, what's going on with the negative shapes here, here, and here, the angle where the wrists and hands line up, and if there are any other objects or things going on. The head, you know, do I need to bring it down more? Again, you can refine more later. You're trying to get a general essence of the gesture of the figure. Just want to be careful to hold the charcoal like this. You're starting with vine or willow, and you want to hold it in a way that gives you a lot of movement and flexibility with the wrist. And you want to try to fit the whole figure on the page. And you're looking at general angles of the body. You're thinking about where the figure's spine is, where the hips are, and you're giving yourself a little map and layout of where things are without committing. You're thinking about general shapes, and you're also thinking about where the body moves, so joints, and you're looking also at negative space. And you want to think about where the figure's weight is. So when I'm looking at the figure, I'm noticing if she could lift one leg up, which she kind of is, which leg would that be? So you want to think about the general angle of where her legs are. Again, where things move, and angles between things. So the knees, I want to look between the knees here. And you can look at the contour. You can kind of think about the contour and the inner structure of the body at the same time, and look at where things line up. So without even drawing the figure too much here, you're just kind of giving yourself this maquette, this loose little structure where things are. Knees, you could do little circles and squiggles for knees. You could think about the whole hip area, and the belly button is a great marker tool for where things are. You kind of do a contour around the waist. You can think about hips. Wherever there's a crease or a crevice, kind of indicating that in, drawing that in will help you. Again, noticing the negative space here, and how much you see as a wide triangle, a narrow triangle, and drawing a little very light angle of where things line up. So where are the knees, the relationship of the knees, the angle of the hips. You don't want to commit to anything because you're probably going to need to adjust. I'm probably going to need to adjust. So I want to be really loose and non-committal with my lines. So I want to look at the toes and where the toes line up. So I'm looking at the figure and thinking about toes and ankles. This one's actually up a little bit. I can draw a little pad for where the toes are. The foot kind of goes back. The ankle's kind of there. Then you're not committing to anything yet if you have to adjust it later. So I kind of wanted to keep the head on here, but notice that as I drew this in, the head is probably going to shift up. So your goal is to get the whole figure. I have all this space down here. Now if I had utilized that space better, I would have fit the whole figure on. But as you're going, you want to try to fit the whole figure on, but you don't want to worry about it too much. You're trying to practice. So your goal is the whole figure on the page, but your other goal is making sure that it's proportionately accurate. So if you have to adjust here and there, that's all right. So I'm going to start with the head. I'm not lifting the charcoal off the paper. I want to think about where her head is in relationship to her shoulders and in relationship to her hips. I'm trying to fit her whole figure, and I'm also trying to give her some positioning and grounding. So if that's the short gesture, I wanted to show you if you are going to go forward with this, when you lay out the mass gesture, you can start to add some detail. And if you're in like this and you need to change it, you need to lengthen it, narrow it. I've hardly done anything, so it's very easy to change it. And then I can adjust it. And when I go in with the detail with my eraser and a little bit darker part of the compressed, then I can add some detail and structure and adjust. You lay down that mass gesture as a foundation, and then you build upon it. So you could go in like this. That would be a highlight. Just to give you an idea how you could use this mass gesture to lay down other parts of the form. So you could continue with that. So if you have longer to go on this, you can take the foundation which you laid down, and continue. And if you wanted to bring some highlights in really quick, you can do some blending, thinking about value, getting rid of some of that outline. wipe it down. You could lay some charcoal ground if you wanted to try, just to put some charcoal down. What happens if you lay a little bit of a charcoal ground and then do some gesture drawing with an eraser? It's a really fun technique. There's already lots of layering there. And if you did that, you could also go on top of it with a little bit of vine, thinking about the twist, the negative space. The knees, where's that knee line up with the armpit? Where does that arm, where's the hand line up with the belly button, for example, because it's foreshortened. Anywhere where there's some kind of bend or crevice. Later in we can get into the structure. Folds. The hand is going to kind of be there. Line for where the eyes are. The line for where the mouth is. Without getting any detail, but indicating some kind of facial features. Where is this toe in relationship to the ankle?